at the end of the day, after the hearing, it was not a hard decision for me to make. I thought she did a very good job, and she will serve this nation honorably. And it would not have been someone I would have chosen. But the person who did choose, President Obama, I think chose wisely.
This just in, an enthusiastic vote of yes in favor of the nomination of Elena Kagan to the Supreme Court. A Republican yes.
And we're always expecting fireworks with these votes, and it turns out in the end, a little bit of compromise. Top Line starts right now.
Welcome to ABC News Top Line. I'm Jonathan Karl.
I'm Karen Travers.
Each day we bring you the latest on politics, and with that, Karen, what is your top line?
Magic number 60. The Democrats will finally have the votes needed to get that unemployment benefit extension passed, and that is going to happen within 15 minutes after the new West Virginia senator is sworn in. That gives them the 60 votes. Yesterday, President Obama had some tough talk for Republicans. That wasn't to get this bill over the finish line. That was inevitable, but that certainly was a little bit of politics, and campaign season is upon us.
A little bit of politics. I mean, some noted that he had this biggest push yet on the unemployment battle, which has been going on for 6 or 7 weeks, and his big push comes only after it is absolutely certain that the thing is going to pass. Next up, political wizardry, and this is in the state of West Virginia. The governor's choice for senator is getting sworn in today, as Karen mentioned, but he is announcing, Governor Manchin, that he is running for that Senate seat, being kept warm by his good friend in the Senate now. But also we have a situation here where the deal that set the stage for the special election this fall allows the top Republican candidate, or potential candidate, Shelley Moore Capito, to run simultaneously for her House seat, re-election, and for the Senate. It just seems like it's all too cute.
We're going to definitely be following this very closely. There's a lot going on there in West Virginia, but that is right. She can do both. If she wins that Senate seat, then there's an election for her House seat as well.
Lots of orchestration
continuing. And our next top line is the British are coming. Prime Minister David Cameron is meeting with President Obama today at the White House. The British Prime Minister wants to talk about Afghanistan. He wants to talk about the global economy, but really BP and the oil spill and that controversial decision by the British government to release the Lockerbie bomber and what role BP played in that is certainly dominating the agenda and really overshadowing things right now.
Yeah, incredible, because this is not a recent release. I mean, this is a controversy we've been through over and over. But now the BP angle gives it perfect timing. We got the British Prime Minister in. There you go. Next up, she's the one. So who does Vice President Biden think is the most powerful political person in the United States? Well, I don't know, but he did say this last night at a fundraiser, and this is an exact quote, so let's put it up there. The single most successful, the single most persuasive, the single most strategic leader I have ever worked with is Nancy Pelosi. Nancy, he added, you are the mother of healthcare. Well, there you have it.
We were calling this yesterday big heaping praise from Vice President Biden, but it should be noted that he did say that she was the most powerful person in politics, with the exception of his boss, President Obama. But that was kind of an afterthought.
A little bit. As a matter of fact, I believe that the applause was so much after that a lot of people didn't even pick up on
by the way, Obama too.
Oh, by the way, yeah, that guy Obama's pretty powerful too. And now we are joined from Capitol Hill by Richard Neal of Massachusetts, senior member of the Ways and Means Committee and a good friend of Top Line. So thanks for joining us, sir.
Glad to be with you.
I wanted to start off by getting you to respond to something we just heard from Eric Cantor, the Republican whip in the House, about what the president had to say about this unemployment mess. Take a look.
He tried to paint a picture where Republicans are sitting around trying to figure out how to give some fat cats a tax break, but yet deny any help to those that are unemployed. Now, that is preposterous.
So it is a little bit preposterous, isn't it? I mean, after all, Republicans are not actually opposing the unemployment extension. They're simply saying that it should be paid for, right?
Well, what they're saying, though, is if you apply the logic of offering more tax cuts or extending the Bush tax cuts without paying for them, that somehow that's more important than providing unemployment benefits to those who, for a variety of reasons, find themselves outside of the American mainstream.
Well, sir, you know, at this point, interested though in more of the specifics then on this unemployment benefit.
Well, let me give you some specifics. We went to war in Iraq. We invaded Afghanistan. We created a Department of Homeland Security. We doubled military spending, and we embraced the prescription D drug benefit. And we cut taxes by $2.3 trillion. I think that's pretty specific.
Are Democrats going to have to compromise or perhaps cave a bit in order to pass just a short-term extension of those Bush tax cuts in order to protect the middle-class tax cuts that, of course, you do want to keep in place?
Well, I think that the president has offered a number of $250,000, and I think that that's a reasonable position. And at the same time, I think that my suggestion would be that we use the expiration of the Bush tax cuts, which now, by I believe joint tax numbers suggest that $700 billion, and we apply that money directly to pay for the cost of the war in Iraq. We have a long-term obligation in Iraq to our veterans and the veterans hospitals as an example of what's going to happen over the next 30 to 40 years. That will be north of $1 trillion. And when you consider before the war in Iraq is over, that will be another $1 trillion. We're talking about some serious challenges that we face, and I think putting the Bush tax cuts on the table to pay for those costs is a very timely matter.
But what you're effectively making the case for is a big tax increase, just as we're coming out of this.
That's not the case. What I'm suggesting is that we pay down our debt that was based in some measure on the $2.3 trillion tax cut that was offered and based upon borrowed money.
Well, but I understand, but to be very clear, if you allow these tax cuts to expire, the day after they expire, taxes are higher. It's a tax increase effectively.
That I accept, but let me just go back to the point that I made a second ago, and I hope I can find some agreement from you on it as well. These are long-term obligations that we have, and I think you would agree the money for the initiatives that I outlined a few minutes ago was all borrowed money.
Very little doubt there was plenty of borrowing going on.
That's all I need is that fundamental acknowledgement.
I'll give you that. Plenty of deficit spending over there.
Congressman Neal, I want to talk about the unemployment benefits. And there's been a lot of talk about these 99ers, the people who will not be getting the extension because they've been unemployed the 99 weeks there. How can you say that we want to help you? We want to help people who are looking for jobs. We want to help the people who are unemployed. But politically, it's too difficult to help everybody. We can't get that through, so we're going to stop there.
Well, look, it's a challenge. There's no question about it. I've just come from a meeting where we discussed how to go forward, and I believe the U.S. Senate this afternoon is going to take up that very matter. And trying to offer, I think, some evidence that an individual has been seeking unemployment, even if they discover that it's been unsuccessful, then I think that we ought to give them due diligence, and we ought to make sure that the opportunity of providing them with extended benefits is there.
So I want to quickly ask you about the war funding. It looks like what passed the House is not going to fly in the Senate.
You could say that about a lot of things.
Yeah, it's kind of a trend. But if the Senate sends back a straight-up war funding bill, is that going to pass in the House?
I think that would be difficult.
Wow. So I mean, how does that play out? I mean, how do you not fund the war?
You're hopeful that the leadership and the leaders of the respective committees might be able to again try to find some common ground on that issue. But it would be difficult, I think, to take the theory that you've just offered, bring it back to the House, and ask for an up or down vote on it.
Congressman, we have less than a minute, but we want to get to the fact that you're going to throw your hat in the ring to be the Ways and Means chairman. And how is that looking? And interesting point that a reporter brought up, that could be a lot of power for Massachusetts representatives if you were to take that chairmanship. Do you think that's going to hurt your chances?
Well, I don't think that it would hurt chances for me or anybody else, considering that Congressman Miller, Congressman Berman, and Congressman Waxman are all from California. And so I don't think that that's a consideration. And incidentally, I've tried very hard to keep us amongst the members of the Congress in these discussions, and that never once has come up.
So who's going to be the Ways and Means chairman next year?
I've got a suggestion.
Thank you very much, Congressman Neal. We appreciate you joining us.
All right, thank you.